So this morning's keynote presenter is also a longtime friend of the GDC. He first appeared on this keynote stage in 2005, where he gave us the first information about the technology behind the console then codenamed Revolution. It's now known, obviously, as the Wii. He also appeared in 2006, where he spoke about disrupting development and introduced the Western development community to philosophies on engaging new players. Then returning in 2009, he debuted a new game from the Legend of Zelda franchise, one of my personal favorites. We are honored and pleased to welcome him back to the keynote stage for our 25th conference. Nintendo continues to innovate and captivate developers and gamers alike, and we're looking forward to his unique insights in both the history and future of the game business. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Satoru Iwata.
Good morning, and thank you for again inviting me to GDC. During the year, one of my most important jobs is to speak to people, to reporters, to financial analysts, to business partners, and many others. But speaking at this event is special because here, today, I have the chance to speak to my colleagues. I am happy to be here. I guess some of you may have come today because you figured maybe I can learn something. Well, I hope that might be true. But honestly, the value of GDC is that all developers can learn from each other. Nintendo is no exception. And this year, we have a lot to talk about. We've all heard what the development community is saying. It's very confusing time for people, not much stability. We are all playing much bigger gambles, and that's getting scary. Everyone is vulnerable. When we hear quotes such as these from our fellow developers, it confirms for us that our world is indeed changing. But let me add two more. When we focus on what we are passionate about, it just keeps on working, proactive, not reactive. And maybe the three little words we need to remember most. Content is king. As the industry evolves, as distribution and business model change, one thing is constant. The primary need is still content. Without quality content, without the imagination of everyone in this room today, there is nothing. There is no industry. To be clear, you are the center of the video game universe. Before I deal with the here and now, I'd like to spend some time talking about the last 25 years of industry history. And it is a kind of shocking for me to realize that I have worked as a video game developer for all of those 25 years. As I said GDC in 2005, I actually began developing games while still a college student. My friends and I formed the company known as HAL Laboratory. Back then, being young, I was entirely wrapped up teaching myself video game programming. Somehow, I concluded that I had video game pretty much figured out. Pretty cool, huh? And this impression carried over to my first introduction to Nintendo and Mr. Miyamoto. Also, he's young. Even after starting to work with Nintendo, I had confidence that I was better than anyone Nintendo when it came to programming technique, and the software that I was making was technically superior to Mr. Miyamoto's. And I believe this would be proven when consumers went out to buy our games. Well, I said before, it is the job of game developers to learn from each other. And Mr. Miyamoto taught me a painful lesson. Content really is king. His games outsold mine by a huge margin. I found out then that engineering isn't quite as important as imagination. To be honest, I was ashamed. And during this time, to use the English expression, I lost my attitude. Well, let me talk about these last 25 years in a wider perspective. When we began making video games, there was no industry. Very few of us considered it a profession. It was just a hobby. It was often hard to even define what our roles were. We would all just take turns doing what needed to be done. If ideas were needed, we were game designers. If characters were needed, we were artists. If music or sound effects were needed, then we would create them. And in the same way, we decided who would go out to buy lunch for everyone, who would clean up, and how we would pay the rent.